Kang Dae-ho stood in the center of the huge council chamber. The room was bigger than 3 football fields put together. Above him, 12 different alien species sat on floating platforms that moved slowly in a circle. Each platform glowed with different colors: blue, green, red, and others that human eyes could barely see. Park So-jin stood behind him, holding a small device that beeped softly. She was nervous. Her hands shook a little as she looked at the alien creatures above them. Some looked like giant crystals that sparkled in the light. Others were like floating clouds of gas that changed shape every few seconds. The leader of the council was an Alteran. It looked like a walking diamond the size of a small car. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. Human Representative Kang Dae-ho, it said. "We have made our decision." Dae-ho nodded. He had been waiting for this moment for 3 months. Earth had sent him here to defend humanity before the Galactic Council. For weeks he had shown them videos of human art, music, and science. He had explained how humans wanted to be peaceful members of the galactic community. But he knew it was not working. The aliens whispered among themselves during his presentations. They looked at him like he was a dangerous animal in a cage. "The Council of 12 Species has voted," the crystal alien continued. "Humanity is too violent for civilized space. You grow too fast. You change too quickly. You ask too many questions." A cloud-like alien floated forward. When it spoke, its voice sounded like bubbles popping. "Your species has existed for only 200,000 years. In that time, you have fought countless wars. You have destroyed other species on your own planet. You cannot be trusted." Park So-jin made a small sound behind him. Dae-ho did not turn around. He kept looking up at the aliens above him. "Furthermore," said another alien that looked like a giant insect, "your technology advances too rapidly. In just 100 years, you went from horse-drawn carts to space travel. This is dangerous. It disrupts the natural order." Dae-ho almost smiled. The natural order. These aliens had been using the same technology for thousands of years. They were afraid of change. The crystal leader spoke again. "Therefore, we order humanity to leave all civilized space. You have 72 standard hours to begin evacuation. You must move beyond the galactic rim. You may not return without permission from this council." The chamber fell silent. Park So-jin dropped her device. It clattered on the metal floor. The sound echoed in the huge room. Dae-ho took a deep breath. This was the moment he had been preparing for his entire life. Not the moment when he would beg for mercy. Not the moment when he would promise the aliens that humans would change. This was the moment when humanity would show these ancient species what they really were. "We accept your verdict," Dae-ho said clearly. His voice carried to every corner of the chamber. "And we thank you for this opportunity." The aliens stopped moving. Even the gas clouds became still. This was not the response they expected. The crystal leader leaned forward. "You thank us?" "Yes," Dae-ho said. "For 70 years, humanity has followed your rules. We have limited our growth to stay within your guidelines. We have held back our technology to avoid frightening you. We have made ourselves smaller to fit into your ancient systems." He looked up at each alien species in turn. "But you have just freed us from all of that. You have given us permission to become everything we can be without worrying about your comfort." Park So-jin stared at him. She had worked with Dae-ho for 5 years, but she had never heard him speak like this. "You think 72 hours is not enough time?" Dae-ho continued. "You underestimate us. We will be gone in half that time. And when we return, and we will return, you will understand what humanity becomes when it stops holding itself back." Far away, on a human observation ship hidden behind a moon, Captain Lee Tae-min watched the council session through a quantum link. His crew sat around him in silence. Engineer Choi Min-ae had tears in her eyes. Navigator Kim Jae-won clenched his fists. "Captain," Min-ae whispered, "are we really leaving?" Tae-min nodded slowly. "We knew this day would come. Admiral Song warned us months ago. The council was never going to accept us, but where will we go?" asked Jae-won. "Beyond the rim, there's nothing. Just empty space between galaxies." Tae-min smiled. "That's what they think. But they've never really looked out there, have they? They're too comfortable here, in their old safe systems." Back in the council chamber, Dae-ho was finishing his speech. "You vote to banish Earth because you fear what humanity might become. But you have just guaranteed that we will become exactly what you fear most, a species with no limits." He bowed slightly to the council. "Thank you for forcing us to reach our full potential. History will remember this day as the moment humanity was set free. As Daeho and Park Seo-jin walked out of the chamber, the aliens remained silent. Some of them were already beginning to wonder if they had made a terrible mistake. On Earth, Admiral Song Hye-jin sat in her office deep under Luna Base. A red light flashed on her desk. She had been waiting for this signal for 3 years. She pressed a button. "Protocol Exodus is now active," she said into her communication device. "All units begin Phase 1 immediately." Around the solar system, lights began turning on. Hidden shipyards that had been disguised as asteroids came to life. Massive construction platforms that looked like space junk started moving. Transport ships that had been waiting in the shadows of planets fired their engines. Dr. Yoon Seok-jin looked up from his desk as alarms started ringing. His assistant, Bae Ji-won, ran into his office. "Sir, the signal came through."
They actually did it.
"The council voted to exile us," Yoon smiled. "Then we'd better not keep them waiting." "How long until the first ARC ships are ready?" 18 hours, sir. Just like we planned." "Good, send word to all colony ships. Tell them it's time to show the galaxy what humans do when someone tries to put them in a corner." As news of the council's decision spread across Earth, something strange happened. Instead of panic, there was excitement. Instead of fear, there was determination. Humanity had been preparing for this day for decades. They were ready to leave. They were ready to become something greater. The rulers had voted to banish Earth. Humanity didn't wait to be told twice. They were already packing their bags, and they were taking everything with them. Admiral Song Hye-jin walked through the command center under Luna Base. Officers ran back and forth carrying tablets and shouting orders. Red lights flashed on every wall. In just 6 hours since the exile order, the entire solar system had transformed. "Report," Song said to her second-in-command. "Captain Oh Minho." "All ARC ships are powering up ahead of schedule," Minho replied, looking at his tablet. "The civilians are boarding faster than we expected. No panic, no resistance. It's like they've been waiting for this day their whole lives." Song nodded. In a way, they had been waiting. For 30 years, every human child had learned about the Exodus plan in school. Every adult had a assigned ship and departure time. Every family knew exactly where to go when the signal came. "What about the industrial platforms?" Song asked. "Dr. Yoon reports that all hidden construction sites are now visible. The aliens monitoring our system are confused." Through the command center's main window, Song could see Earth below. Even from the moon, she could see the lights of massive ships lifting off from every continent. What the Galactic Council thought were simple transport vehicles were actually the first wave of humanity's greatest journey. Dr. Yoon Seok-jin stood on the bridge of the massive ARC ship New. Tomorrow, around him, his team worked at control panels that glowed with soft blue light. His assistant, Bae Ji-won, pointed at a screen showing dozens of ships moving through space. "The disguised asteroid mining ships are transforming now," Ji-won reported. "The aliens probably thought they were just big rocks floating around our system." Yoon smiled as he watched the asteroids unfold like giant metal flowers. Each one was actually a complete city ship, capable of supporting 50,000 people for decades. The mining equipment that stuck out of them had been real, but it was just the outer shell. "How many people can we move in the first wave?" Yoon asked. 200 million, Ji-won answered. "But that's just the beginning. The automated factories are already building more ships. By the time we reach the Galactic Rim, we'll have transport for everyone who wants to leave." "And how many want to stay on Earth?" Ji-won checked another screen. "Less than 1%. Mostly elderly people who want to die at home, and volunteers to maintain the automated systems." Across the system, Captain Jang Ho-seok guided his scout fleet toward the edge of known space. His ships were small and fast, designed to find safe routes through the dangerous region beyond the Galactic Rim. His navigator Shin Yuri studied star charts that showed absolutely nothing beyond the galaxy's edge. "Captain," Yuri said, "the long-range scanners are picking up something strange. There are gravity signatures out there that don't match anything in our databases." "Alien ships?" Ho-seok asked. "No, sir. Natural phenomena. It looks like there might be entire star systems drifting in the void between galaxies, hidden worlds that the Galactic Council never bothered to explore." Ho-seok leaned back in his chair. "Of course they didn't. They're too comfortable with their old mapped territories. They never wondered what might be out there in the dark." He opened a communication channel to the other scout ships. "All units spread out and begin deep scanning." If we're going to live in the void, we need to know what's waiting for us. On Earth, Park In-soo prepared to deliver humanity's final message to the Galactic Council. As Earth's last ambassador, he had the honor of formally accepting the exile on behalf of all humanity. He stood in the communication center in Geneva, looking at a camera that would broadcast his words across the galaxy. Behind him, through a large window, he could see the lights of the last transport ships preparing to leave the planet. People of the galaxy, In-soo began, humanity accepts the judgment of the Galactic Council. We will leave civilized space as ordered, but we want you to understand what you have done today. He paused, choosing his words carefully. For 70 years, we tried to be the kind of species you wanted us to be. We slowed our growth. We limited our science. We made ourselves smaller to fit into your ancient systems. But today you have freed us from those limits. In-soo gestured toward the window behind him. What you see leaving Earth is not a defeated species fleeing in shame. This is humanity unleashed. You have given us the greatest gift possible, the freedom to become everything we were meant to be. On the observation ship, Harmony, Captain Lee Taemin and his crew watched the exodus with amazement. Engineer Choi Min-ae had been recording everything, creating a historical record of humanity's departure. "Captain, look at this," Min-ae said, showing him her tablet. "The energy readings from those ARC ships are incredible. They're not just using our standard fusion drives. Dr. Yoon's team has been developing something completely new." Taemin studied the readings. "These ships are generating more power than entire planets. How is that possible?" Navigator Kim Jae-won looked up from his own console. "Sir, I think I know. Remember those theoretical papers Dr. Lim published about zero-point energy? The ones the Galactic Council said were too dangerous to pursue? You think they actually built zero-point reactors?" Taemin asked. "Look at the data," Jae-won said. "These ships aren't just carrying people. They're carrying entire cities, complete manufacturing systems, and enough resources to build civilization anywhere they land. They're not refugees. They're colonists." As the hours passed, the aliens monitoring Earth's evacuation became more and more confused. What they expected to be a chaotic exodus of frightened refugees was actually the most organized migration in galactic history. The humans moved with precision and purpose, like they had been planning this for decades. Admiral Song received reports from across the system. Every ARC ship was ahead of schedule. The hidden shipyards were now fully revealed, showing construction capabilities that the aliens had never suspected. Massive factories that had been disguised as space junk were now obviously advanced manufacturing centers. "Admiral," reported her communications officer, "we're receiving confused queries from the Alteran monitoring station. They want to know how we're moving so much equipment so quickly." Song smiled. "Tell them we're just following orders." They said 72 hours. "We'll be gone in 36. Captain Oh Min-ho looked out at the stream of ships heading toward the galactic rim. "Admiral, permission to speak freely?" "Always, Min-ho. Do you think they realize what they've done? The Council, I mean. Do they understand that they just forced humanity to become exactly what they were afraid of?" Song considered the question. "I think some of them do. The smart ones are probably already wondering if they made a mistake. But it's too late now. They voted to banish us, and we're accepting their gift with gratitude." The last of the major ARC ships lifted off from Earth just 30 hours after the Council's decision. The planet wasn't empty. Automated systems continued to operate, maintaining the atmosphere and oceans for the few thousand humans who chose to stay. But the vast majority of humanity was now in space, heading toward the unknown regions beyond the galaxy. As Park In-soo boarded the final diplomatic transport, he looked back at Earth one last time. The blue and green world still looked beautiful from space, but it was no longer humanity's only home. Now all of space was their home. "Ready to depart, Ambassador?" asked the pilot. In-soo nodded. "Take us to our people, Captain. It's time to see what humanity becomes when no one tells us what we can't do." Behind them, Earth continued to turn in space, no longer the center of human civilization, but the birthplace of a species that had just been set free to explore everything the universe had to offer. 5 years had passed since humanity left the galaxy behind. Fleet Admiral Kwon Jin-ae stood on the bridge of the massive command ship, Endless Journey. Through the windows, she could see something that would have amazed the Galactic Council, a thriving human civilization in the empty space between galaxies. What had once been called the Void was now home to millions of humans. Enormous ships moved between floating cities built around captured asteroids. Industrial platforms the size of moons manufactured everything humanity needed to not just survive, but grow stronger every day. "Report from the Outer Scouts," said her aide, Commander Nam Dong-min. He had grown up during the Exodus, one of thousands of children born in the ships during the long journey to this place. "What have they found now?" Jin'ei asked. Every day brought new discoveries in this region that the galactic species had ignored for thousands of years. 3 more rogue planets with unusual energy signatures Dr. Lim thinks they might contain materials we've never seen before. And Captain Han's deep patrol found another gravitational anomaly that might be a shortcut through folded space. Jin'ei nodded. In 5 years, humanity had learned more about the universe than the Galactic Council had discovered in centuries. When you weren't afraid to explore dangerous places, you found amazing things. Dr. Lim Soo-young worked in her laboratory aboard the research vessel Discovery. Around her, dozens of scientists studied samples from the strange new worlds they had found in the void. Her partner, An Kyung-ho, was examining readings from their latest gravitational survey. "Soo-young, you need to see this," Kyung-ho called from his workstation. "The energy patterns from that rogue planet we found last month, they're not natural." Lim looked over his shoulder at the data. "What do you mean?" "I mean something built these energy networks. We're not the first intelligent species to live out here in the dark. There are others, or there were others." Lim felt excitement building in her chest. "Ancient aliens? Different from the Council species?" "Very different. Look at these construction patterns. Whoever built these energy collectors, they thought bigger than anyone in the galaxy. These structures are designed to last for millions of years," Lim smiled. "And the Council species think they're advanced because their technology is a few thousand years old." In another part of the human fleet, Chief Engineer Nam Dong-min inspected the newest shipyard facility. The massive construction platform hung in space like a metal city, its factories working constantly to build new ships and equipment. "How's production?" he asked his assistant engineer Ko Jae-hyun. "Ahead of schedule as always," Ko replied. "The new fusion reactors are working perfectly. Each one produces more energy than the entire power grid of a council world." Dong-min walked through the factory floor, watching automated systems assemble spacecraft components with incredible precision. "What about the new drive system?" Dr. Park's team has made another breakthrough. The space-folding drives can now move ships instantly across distances that would take council vessels months to cross. And the best part, we don't need their navigation networks anymore. The young engineer's excitement was obvious. He had never lived in the galaxy, had never been limited by council rules about what technology was safe to develop. To him, these advances were just normal progress. Captain Han Min-jae commanded a reconnaissance squadron that regularly ventured back toward the galactic rim. His job was to observe the council species from a distance, gathering information about their activities. His intelligence officer, Yang Hee-jin, analyzed the data they collected. "What's the situation in council space?" Han asked as he entered the intelligence center. "Getting worse," Hee-jin replied, showing him a display covered with charts and graphs. 3 more trade disputes this month. The Nephrite Collective is threatening to stop shipping energy crystals to the Alteran systems. 2 species are building up their military fleets. Any mention of humanity? Very little. Most of them seem to have forgotten we exist, but there are rumors spreading among the merchant classes. Stories about mysterious ships with incredible technology appearing at rim stations." Han raised an eyebrow. "Our people are making contact?" "Carefully. Captain Moon's diplomatic team has been establishing trade relationships with independent stations. Nothing official, just quiet business arrangements." Han studied the data. The Council always claimed they brought peace and stability to the galaxy. But look at this. In just 5 years without us, they're falling apart. Meanwhile, Captain Moon Yoonji was conducting one of those quiet business arrangements at a remote trading post on the galactic rim. Her ship, Peaceful Exchange, looked like an ordinary merchant vessel from the outside, but its cargo bay contained technology that amazed everyone who saw it. "This medical scanner," said the station administrator, "a reptilian alien named Voss. It can detect diseases that our best equipment cannot even see." "It's a standard model for us," Moon replied calmly. We can provide 50 units in exchange for raw materials and information about local conditions. Voss stared at the device. This scanner is more advanced than anything in Council space. Where did you get it? We made it, Moon said simply. When you're not limited by someone else's rules about what technology is safe, you can build better tools. The alien administrator looked confused. But the safety protocols exist for good reasons. Rapid technological advancement can be dangerous, Moon smiled. Dangerous to whom? We've been advancing rapidly for 5 years now, and we're healthier and happier than we've ever been. Maybe the protocols were designed to protect someone else's interest, not to keep people safe. Back in the main human fleet, Admiral Quan Jin-A met with her senior staff to review their progress. The conference room aboard Endless Journey was filled with officers who had grown and learned during their time in the void. Population report, Jin-A asked. 8 million humans now live in the fleet, reported Demographics Officer Wu Ha-young. Birth rates are higher than they were on Earth. Children born out here seem to adapt better to space life. Industrial capacity? Chief Engineer Dong Min answered. We can now build anything we need from raw materials. Our manufacturing capabilities exceed what Earth had when we left, and we're still improving every month. Scientific discoveries? Dr. Lim spoke up from her position at the table. We've cataloged 47 new energy sources, discovered materials with properties that shouldn't be possible according to Council physics, and mapped gravitational anomalies that prove space-time works differently out here. Jin-A looked around the table at her officers. These were people who had been forced to leave everything they knew and build a new civilization from nothing. Instead of being weakened by the challenge, they had become stronger. And our long-term plans? She asked. The deep exploration fleets report contact with the edge of another galaxy, said Captain Han. Early scans suggest it contains thousands of species that have never heard of the Galactic Council. If we wanted to, we could establish relationships there. Jin-A considered this. A whole galaxy full of species who haven't been told that rapid advancement is dangerous? Who haven't been trained to fear change and growth? Exactly. They might actually want to learn from us instead of being afraid of us. The Admiral stood and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the lights of human ships and stations stretching into the distance. In 5 years, her people had built something magnificent in the empty space that the Council species feared to explore. The Council voted to banish us because they thought we were too dangerous, she said. They were right. We are dangerous to their old limited way of thinking. We're dangerous to the idea that progress should be slow and carefully controlled. She turned back to her officers. But we're not dangerous to life or happiness or growth. We're the opposite. We're what happens when intelligent beings are allowed to reach their full potential. Admiral Jin-A made a decision that would change the galaxy's future. Send word to Captain Moon and our other Rim contacts. It's time to let the galaxy know that humanity didn't disappear into the void. We've been getting stronger. And soon, we're going to show them what they could become if they stopped being afraid of their own potential. In the depths of space between galaxies, humanity had found something the Galactic Council had lost long ago. The courage to become something greater than they had ever imagined possible. 20 years had passed since the exile. Admiral Ryu Sung-min stood on the bridge of the flagship New Horizon as it approached the Galactic Rim. Behind him, a fleet of human ships moved through space like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The ships seemed to bend light around them, making them hard to see clearly. They moved without visible engines, sliding through space as if they were swimming through water instead of vacuum. To anyone watching, they looked more like living creatures than manufactured vessels. Contact the Rim station, Sung-min ordered his communications officer. Tell them we're here for peaceful trade. Captain Moon Yoonji commanded the diplomatic vessel, Reconciliation. Her ship was smaller than the others, designed to look less threatening to nervous aliens. Her cultural attaché, Ko Jae-hyun, prepared the translation systems for their first official contact in 2 decades. Remember, Moon told her crew, we're not here as conquerors or refugees. We're here as neighbors offering friendship to anyone interested. The Rim station was called Harmony Point. It had been built by the Council as a monitoring post to watch for threats from outside the galaxy. Ironically, it was now about to become the place where humanity announced its return. Station Administrator Kellix was a nephrite, one of the gas cloud species that helped exile humanity years ago. When his sensors detected the approaching human fleet, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Those ships, he whispered to his aide. How are they moving like that? Unknown, sir. Our sensors can barely track them. The energy readings don't match anything in our databases. Kellex had been a young officer when the humans were banished. He remembered them as a primitive species with crude technology and violent tendencies. These ships looked like they belonged to an advanced civilization that was thousands of years ahead of anything in the galaxy. Incoming transmission, his communications officer announced. On the main screen, a human woman appeared. She looked calm and confident, nothing like the desperate refugees Kellex had expected. Harmony Point Station, this is Captain Moon Yoonji of the human vessel Reconciliation. We request permission to dock for peaceful trade and cultural exchange. Kellex stared at the screen. You're human? Yes. We've returned to resume relationships with our galactic neighbors. We have goods and services that we believe would be of great value to the species in this region. But you were exiled. You're not supposed to be here, Moon smiled. The Council ordered us to leave civilized space. We did. Now we're back as representatives of a new civilization that exists beyond the galaxy's edge. We're not asking to rejoin the Council. We're simply offering trade opportunities. Within hours of Moon's arrival at Harmony Point, word spread throughout the galactic rim. The humans were back, and they were completely different from the species that had been banished 20 years ago. Commander No Soo-jin was aboard the station when pirates attacked. These raiders had been terrorizing rim settlements for months, stealing cargo and attacking any ship too weak to defend itself. The station's defenses were old and unreliable. All ships, we have multiple pirate vessels approaching, announced the station's defense coordinator. Prepare for assault. No looked out through the station's viewing port. 12 pirate ships surrounded Harmony Point, their weapons charging for attack. The station had only 3 defense ships, and they were badly outgunned. Captain Moon, No said into her communicator. Request permission to assist with station defense. Granted. Try not to hurt anyone. No's small patrol craft moved away from the station. To the pirates, it looked like just another frightened ship trying to escape. They ignored it and focused on the larger targets. That was their mistake. No's ship suddenly seemed to fold space around itself. One moment it was near the station. The next, it was directly behind the lead pirate vessel. A beam of pure energy touched the raiders' engines, and they simply stopped working. The ship drifted helplessly in space. Before the other pirates could react, No's craft was behind another ship, then another. In less than 2 minutes, all 12 pirate vessels were disabled, their crews unharmed but completely helpless. How? Whispered the station administrator. How did one small ship defeat an entire pirate fleet? Captain Moon's voice came over the communication system. Commander No is using standard human patrol equipment. When you're not limited by fears about advancing too quickly, you develop better tools. News of the incident spread across the rim faster than light-speed communication. Within days, trade representatives from dozens of species were requesting meetings with the humans. Captain Jian, Min-Sok established the first official human trade post at a crossroads station called Junction 7. His economic advisor, Wu Ha-young, negotiated deals that seemed impossible to the local merchants. You're offering medical technology that can cure diseases we thought were incurable, said a trader from the Quillan species. What do you want in return? Raw materials, cultural information, and friendship, Wu replied. We're not interested in exploiting anyone. We want to help our neighbors become more prosperous. But why? What's your profit? Wu smiled. Happy, healthy neighbors are the best kind to have. When everyone in a region is doing well, there are more opportunities for everyone. The Quillan trader looked confused. This was not how business was usually conducted in council space. Normally, advanced species use their advantages to dominate less developed ones. Within months, human trading posts appeared throughout the outer rim. Each one offered technology and resources that transformed local economies. Planets that had struggled for centuries to grow enough food suddenly had abundance. Species that had been limited to their home systems gained access to efficient space travel. Agent Pyo Chang-ho worked undercover in the Council's central systems, gathering information about their reaction to humanity's return. His reports painted a picture of growing chaos in the galaxy's political center. 3 species have formally requested emergency council sessions, he reported to Admiral Ryu. They want to discuss what they're calling the human situation. But 5 other species are secretly negotiating private trade agreements with our representatives. What about the original council members? Ryu asked, split. The Alterans are demanding military action to force us back beyond the rim. The Nephrites want to ignore us and hope we go away. The others are divided between fear and curiosity. Ryu studied the intelligence reports. And the general population? That's the interesting part. Common citizens throughout the galaxy are hearing stories about human technology and generosity. They're starting to ask why their own governments never developed these capabilities. Back at Harmony Point, Station Administrator Kellix faced a problem he had never imagined. His small monitoring station had become one of the busiest trade centers in the galaxy. Ships arrived daily, all wanting to do business with the humans. "Sir," his aide reported, "we have requests from 47 vessels waiting to dock. Most of them are here specifically to trade with the humans." Kellix looked out at the traffic around his station. In 6 months, Harmony Point had gone from a quiet outpost to a major commercial hub. The humans had brought prosperity to everyone in the region. And our orders from the council? Kellix asked, still the same. Observe and report. Don't interfere. Kellix made a decision that would have been unthinkable a year ago. Send a message to council headquarters. Tell them we recommend establishing formal diplomatic relations with the Human Trade Network. Sir? Look around, Kellix said, gesturing at the busy station. The humans have brought more peace and prosperity to this region in 6 months than the council managed in 60 years. Maybe it's time to admit that exiling them was a mistake. Admiral Ryu received reports from across the galaxy. Human influence was spreading, but not through conquest or intimidation. Species were choosing to associate with humanity because it made their lives better. "Admiral," reported his intelligence chief, "we estimate that 20% of the galaxy's population now lives in systems that have some form of relationship with human traders. And their governments? 7 species have formally withdrawn from the council to join what the media is calling the human economic sphere. 12 others are considering it." Ryu looked at a map showing human influence spreading across the galaxy like ripples in a pond. Each ripple represented millions of beings whose lives had been improved by human technology and cooperation. "Send a message to Admiral Jinne and the Deep Fleet," he ordered. "Tell her it's time for the next phase. The galaxy is ready to learn what we discovered in the void, that cooperation works better than control, and that growth is nothing to fear." The return had begun not with conquest, but with kindness. Not with force, but with friendship. And the galaxy was starting to remember what it felt like to dream of a better future, instead of fearing change. Humanity was home, and this time they were bringing gifts. 50 years after the banishment, President Kim Tae-kyung looked out from his office window at the vast space habitat called New Terra. The massive structure rotated slowly in space, creating artificial gravity for the 20 million beings who called it home. But not all of them were human anymore. The habitat was home to representatives from over 200 species. Crystalline Alterans worked alongside gas cloud Nephrites, while insectoid Klaxons shared laboratories with aquatic Delthans. All of them had chosen to leave their old systems to join what had become known as the Human Alliance. "Mr. President," said his aide, "Secretary Park Won-jin, the morning briefings are ready." Kim nodded and walked to his conference room. 50 years ago, he had been a child aboard one of the exile ships, watching his parents work to build a new life in the void. Now he led a civilization that spanned multiple galaxies and included species that the old council had never even contacted. Foreign Minister Lee Soo-jin was the first to report. Her department now handled diplomatic relations with over 400 species, most of them eager to learn from human discoveries. "The Andromedan Contact Mission reports first successful communication with intelligent species in the neighboring galaxy," she said. "They're interested in establishing cultural exchange programs." "Any resistance?" Kim asked. "None. Unlike our galaxy, Andromeda never developed a central authority that fears change. The species there seem excited about rapid technological advancement." Kim smiled. The irony wasn't lost on him. The old Galactic Council had exiled humanity for being too advanced too quickly. Now 3 galaxies away, species were begging humans to share the secrets of rapid development. Admiral Park Ji-hoon commanded the Human Defense Fleet, but his ships rarely fought battles anymore. Instead, they explored new regions of space and protected trading convoys carrying peaceful goods between worlds. "Admiral," asked Kim, What's the status of our exploration programs? We now have active contact with species in 12 galaxies, Ji-hoon reported. The deep space vessels are finding intelligent life everywhere we look. Most of them are eager to join our alliance networks. And the old council still exists, but only 4 of the original 12 species remain members. The others have either joined us or established their own independent governments. The council controls less than 10% of this galaxy now. Dr. Choi Young-min, now elderly but still leading the Xenological Institute, had spent 50 years studying how different species adapted to human methods. His research had become the foundation for peaceful integration across multiple galaxies. "Doctor," Kim said, "your report on cultural adaptation?" "Remarkable results," the old scientist replied. "Species that embrace human-style technological advancement show immediate improvements in health, education, and happiness. More importantly, they become more creative and innovative themselves. Any negative effects? None that we can measure. The Council's fears about rapid advancement causing social breakdown have proven completely unfounded. In fact, the opposite is true. Societies that advance quickly become more stable and peaceful." The meeting was interrupted by an urgent communication from Captain Song Min-ah, commanding the Deep Space Explorer Beyond Tomorrow. Her ship was currently investigating the far edge of local galactic cluster, looking for new civilizations to contact. "Mr. President," Song reported via quantum communication, "we've discovered something extraordinary. There's an entire galactic cluster that's been isolated for millions of years. Thousands of species, all at different levels of development. They have no central government, no rules about technological advancement." "What are their development levels?" Kim asked. "Everything from early spaceflight to technologies we don't even understand yet. And here's the amazing part, Knight, they're all cooperative. No wars, no territorial disputes. They share knowledge freely across species boundaries." Kim felt excitement building. "A natural example of what happens when species aren't afraid to grow and change." "Exactly. They want to meet us. They've heard rumors about our alliance methods and want to learn how we manage to keep so many different species working together peacefully." After the meeting, Kim walked through the cultural district of New Terra. Here, beings from dozens of worlds lived and worked together, sharing their arts, foods, and ideas. Children of different species played together in parks, learning each other's languages and customs. He stopped at a cafe run by a Klaxon family who had left their homeworld to join the alliance. The insectoid owner, Zik Klickthren, greeted him warmly. "President Kim, will you try our new blend? We've combined human coffee with nephrite cloud essence and delthan sea minerals." Kim accepted the strange-looking drink and tasted it. The flavor was unlike anything he had ever experienced. Complex, energizing, and somehow comforting all at once. "This would never have been possible under the old council system," he said to Zik Klickthren. "No," the Klaxon agreed, his mandibles clicking with amusement. "They would have said it was too dangerous to mix different species' foods. They were afraid of everything new." Kim continued his walk, thinking about how much had changed. The old Galactic Council had ruled through fear. Fear of change, fear of advancement, fear of anything that might disrupt their careful control. The Human Alliance ruled through hope. Hope for a better future, hope for new discoveries. Hope for growth beyond current limitations. He arrived at the Memorial Garden, where a simple stone monument honored the 12 species that had voted to exile humanity 50 years ago. The inscription read, "To the Council of 12, who gave humanity the greatest gift possible, the freedom to become everything we could be." Ambassador Wan Jae-sung was visiting from the old council chambers, where he served as humanity's representative in ceremonial meetings. The council still existed, but it had become largely irrelevant. Most galactic business was now conducted through the alliance networks that humanity had helped establish. "Mr. President," Wan reported, "the remaining council members have requested another meeting about galactic security concerns. They're worried about our expansion into other galaxies." "What are they afraid of now?" Kim asked. "The same thing they were afraid of 50 years ago. Change, growth, the possibility that their old way of doing things might not be the best way." Kim considered this. "What do you recommend?" "I think it's time for complete honesty. No more diplomatic politeness. They need to understand that their system failed because it was based on fear, instead of hope." The next day, Juan stood before the remnants of the Galactic Council in their ancient chamber. Only 4 species remained: the crystalline Alterans, the gas cloud Nephrites, the insectoid Vorthak, and the energy being Luminals. The chamber that had once seemed so imposing now felt small and empty. "Honored council members," Juan began, "you have expressed concerns about humanity's activities in other galaxies. You fear that we are spreading dangerous ideas about rapid technological advancement." The Alteran leader spoke first. "Your species has destabilized the entire galactic order. Systems that were peaceful for thousands of years are now changing constantly." "Yes," Juan agreed. "They are changing. They are growing. They are becoming happier, healthier, and more prosperous." "Is this the instability you fear?" "Change is dangerous," insisted the Nephrite representative. "Rapid advancement leads to chaos and war." One gestured to a display showing current galactic statistics. "In the 50 years since humanity began sharing our methods, there have been 0 wars between Alliance member species. Crime rates have dropped to historic lows. Scientific advancement has accelerated beyond anything previously recorded. Where is the chaos you predicted?" The council members remained silent. "The truth is," one continued, "you were never protecting the galaxy from humanity's dangerous nature. You were protecting your own power from humanity's liberating influence. You were afraid that if other species saw what was possible, they would stop accepting your limitations." The Vorthak delegate clicked angrily. "You cannot speak to this council with such disrespect." "With respect," one replied calmly. "I can speak any way I choose. This council voted to exile my species 50 years ago. You gave up any claim to authority over humanity at that moment. I am here as a courtesy, not as a subject." He looked around the nearly empty chamber. "You voted to banish Earth because you thought humanity was too dangerous to remain in civilized space. You were right. We were dangerous to your system of control through fear. We were dangerous to the idea that advancement should be slow and carefully managed by ancient authorities." One stood to leave. "But we were never dangerous to life, happiness, or progress. We were the opposite. We were what the galaxy was waiting for. Teachers instead of rulers, partners instead of masters." As he walked toward the exit, Juan delivered his final message. "The rulers voted to banish Earth. They gave humanity exactly what we needed to become what the galaxy was waiting for. For that gift, we will always be grateful." Outside the council chambers, Juan looked up at the stars. Among them, hundreds of species were building new civilizations based on cooperation instead of control. Children of dozens of worlds were growing up together, learning that differences were something to celebrate rather than fear. Humanity had been cast out of paradise. Instead of mourning, they had built something better.